All right, everybody, welcome back to Downtime in Daytona. This is Steve Gooch with Fun Coast Tours. We have a guest today. Frankie Kicklighter will be joining us for today and several days, hopefully. Frankie is a business consultant, and I'm going to let Frankie tell you a little bit about why he's here with us. How you doing today, Frankie?
Doing fantastic. How are you, Steve?
I am doing well. Frankie, why would you sign up for this? Why did you want to come on and help me out?
I would say the best way to answer that is just to proudly support the community that I was born and raised in. One thing with being from the area and seeing the growth of everything is it's a spectacular thing to see where it's headed, where it's going, and kind of the turnaround that Volusia County and some of the coastal cities have been making over the past couple of years. Being born and raised from the area, being from Lake Helen, Florida, from about going on 27 years, it's a beautiful thing to see where everything's headed, where the cities are turning things around, where you see DeLand being voted the best small downtown in all of America. You got Daytona,
I love DeLand.
It's a beautiful city.
You said you grew up where now?
I grew up in Lake Helen, Florida, which is a little small town just outside of DeLand. We don't really necessarily have any stoplights, or we don't have any at all. So
where's the county line on the I-4 corridor? What's the last place that's in Volusia?
So technically, Daytona State has a DeLand campus, which is right off of Summit, and I believe it starts right over the bridge past Daytona State College. It runs for about 2.5 miles out towards Lake Helen Osteen, where it'll cut off right after you turn off of, funny enough, Kicklighter Road that is out in Lake Helen.
Is that named after your family?
So I don't necessarily know the full story behind it, but I have been told there is a uncle's relative that somebody in the family at some point had something to do with the road.
So you grew up in Lake Helen. You live now in DeLand.
Yep.
And you spend your work days mainly out in Daytona.
Yep. So most of the time I'm heading out to the Daytona area. I did spend a lot of time working in DeLand. I was a Domino's driver throughout college and kind of got familiar with every last corner of DeLand. Spent a lot of time in New Smyrna as a child, going out to 26th Avenue and going out that way for beachside. I'm spending a lot of time now in the Daytona, Port Orange area, Ormond Beach, Flagler. Starting to come more towards the coast. Of course, the love of the beach, and who can't complain with a nice hammock between some palm trees by the water.
Of course.
Spending a lot of time out in the Daytona area and just seeing the turnaround that area has made and the progress that it is making, and being excited about the growth that's happening in the area. So
you said turnaround, Frankie. The turnaround that the Daytona area is making. What did you see? What did you see before that needed turning around?
Daytona's been known previously for an area of excitement and fun and partying and drinking and having a good time. There's multiple events that go on all throughout the year. You have the 500, you got Jeep Beach, Truck Week, you got national events that happen there. So it's always been an exciting area, but one thing that kind of fell to the wayside is the infrastructure around it to keep people there. One thing that it's been known for, of course, is the travel. It's definitely a tourist area where everybody's kind of traveling to and from the area. Right. There's actually more people coming into Daytona than actually live in Daytona.
Yeah.
So seeing them kind of take an area that needed maybe a little bit of polish and actually focusing on what kind of polish they're going to use this time to be able to make it an area that keeps people interested, involved, and all around in the area for long periods of time.
That's something I've noticed about Daytona. It attracts lots of different groups of people. You'll see families here. You'll see couples here. You'll see a group of single guys come here when it's time for the races. But when you ask anyone in particular, hey, what are you doing here? Ultimately, in the course of that conversation, you get something like, there's not a whole lot to do here. And I disagree, but it's because Absolutely. I live here. Once you live here, you see there's a million things to do. Either we're not doing a good job of letting people know what those things are, or we're not marketing it to the right people. Because if you bring a family here, you think, okay, we have the water park.
Absolutely.
We have the beach. Okay, now what? But for some reason, we need to put a fence around those things and market that same group of things to the same group of people. And then when you have the guys who come here for a guys weekend, those things need to be marketed towards that group.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head. I think it's not so much that Daytona doesn't have other things to do. I think it's just the announcement that those things are there. There's a big community that is involved around the speedway per se. So you have not just the race, but they also offer tours of the speedway. They have days.
It's a great tour. $25
It's
for an hour-long
fantastic.
tour around the track.
Yep. And there's a lot of history behind that tour where they know everything that went on, where it started, give you a little history about why NASCAR even started in the first. A lot of people don't know that it started on the beach side and not in some fancy track.
That's right.
Just a bunch of folks racing some moonshine up the coast and wanting to find out whose car could be the fastest to get away. So
was signed at the Streamline Hotel right there on the strip. Most people just drive right past it, don't even realize there's a little museum in there.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a lot of history behind little things that people aren't fully aware of. So when people are coming to town, they know, of course, they got the tickets to the races, they have their hotel, but what else is there? Of course, the general thing to do, take an Uber down to one of the party streets or go and ask somebody, hey, where do we go? And they all kind of point you in the same direction. But there's not this big community wrapped around specific things in Daytona, like the hidden secrets that some of the locals know, and part of the reasons why we love the area so much. So I think it's more of just understanding that Daytona has a lot more to offer than what the general event that you're going towards has to offer.
I've spent some time trying to figure this stuff out, Frankie, and there's a difference. For example, when you go to Orlando, everyone knows what they're going to do in Orlando, and you can fill your day, but these are artificial things that were crafted specifically to guide you down this path. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. They have found that that's their bread and butter is the tourist industry. And they guide people along those paths or those channels. And there's somebody in marketing somewhere is really good at sending that information to the right people at the right time. You do the same thing, you go to St. Augustine. It's exactly the same story. They know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to occupy your time the whole time. You come to Daytona and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
What do we do now? That's the thing. It's not that there's nothing to do here. It's we're doing a bad job of letting people know what they can do here.
Right. And I think letting people know some of these spots that nobody's ever really heard of, finding these little crevices, finding these little things that are exciting about the area is so important because there is much more than just the one thing that you come for. I think Daytona has and is growing into a very diverse area where it's not just race-oriented things. I know there's a few fruit stands coming out. I know there's a few juice bars. There's some change in some of the merchandise that's being sold out of there, some of the gift shops. There's very exciting bars that are coming out. They just opened a Coyote Ugly on Seabreeze Boulevard.
People love that.
There's all kinds of diverse things coming to Daytona that it's just more about making the people aware that when they come to town that there's so much more to do. One of the things that I've found, there's a couple breweries that have been popping up all of Volusia County and on the coast side going all up and down A1A. You have these folks coming in for the races that think, hey, we're just coming to the races to have a good time. And you find them most of the time checking out all these different breweries or drinking some of these craft beers. And where before the races used to be pretty much just sponsored by Budweiser and Budweiser alone. You'd see people walk around in Budweiser overalls and have their Budweiser hats on and Budweiser this, Budweiser that, where now you're seeing them kind of more explore the craft scene, the more diverse opportunities that they have out in Daytona.
Frankie, I am so glad you brought that up because that segues directly. See, I said segues. Sorry, I do Segway tours too. But Frankie, you were talking about the craft beer scene here, and which is what I had jumped on. And you said you had learned the DeLand area by becoming a driver for Domino's Pizza.
Yep.
That's not a bad thing. That's a fantastic idea. Anytime I move to a new area, if I really want to find out what's there, I know now I can drive Uber, and within a month, I'm going to know the area better than anyone else. So that is one point that I wanted to make. But the second point, during driving Uber, I had found so many people had said, hey, we're here for the breweries. We want to go to this one. Tomorrow we're going to go to that one. That gave me the idea, hey, let's do them all in one night. So I started doing that, and I had looked for them, and I'd identified them, and I had only found one in Port Orange until just recently. And right now, Frankie and I are going to get on a call, and we're going to talk to Kyla at Dunes Brewing and try to get a good idea about what's going on at their opening down at the area called Down Under, which is the beachside section under the bridge of the Dunlawton Bridge in Port Orange. So we're going to go ahead and make that call now.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Kyla. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Oh, not bad. I'm with Frankie. So
Hello, Kyla.
Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Frankie.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time, Kyla. We're very excited that you're opening down there, and I was hoping you can tell us a little bit about Dunes Brewing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dunes Brewing we're basically the idea child of three guys who love beer, basically.
Okay.
And that's kind of how this whole love turned into a reality. And our brewer, Jeremy Shaw, is an amazing person. He has handcrafted and picked exactly the ingredients and the recipes that he preferred for all of the beers. We will be rotating most of them. We're going to probably have two staple beers, one of which is going to be a blonde ale and the other which will be like a classic IPA. We try to kind of do everything like local. We're all locals, all of us who work here and participate in the business. So basically we kind of try to put that aspect into all of the beers. Like we named our Saison, we named it the Sunglow Saison, and we named our IPA the Down Under IPA because we're underneath the Dunlawton Bridge.
I saw that.
Just kind of little catchy things like that, just kind of trying to be really focused on our community here, contributing to the community.
You're joining a great community. I did notice those local tie-ins with some of the beer names. This is the very first undertaking.
Yes,
correct.
Brewing.
How long have you been involved in it? Have you done breweries before?
I've never done breweries before. I've worked in the service industry for over 7-8 years now. Just was super exciting, and we all love to work together. And I had a friend who works for the same guys that put this place together. She works for them, and that's kind of how I ended up here.
I had my eye on this place from even before I launched my business, and I had gone around and I tried to make contact and find out if I can get you guys on the tour. It had been going on for a while.
Oh, yes.
There was actually nobody there for a while. Was there any trouble during COVID or anything like that slowed production?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure if you're familiar back when the COVID thing was going on, that no one who was not serving food was allowed to be open. I know that really greatly affected like the New Smyrna Beach Brewery, etc. So that really put this whole thing on pause for a long time. Hard to get permit when, obviously we really wouldn't even have been able to function as a business and not only that, but construction. There was a lot of hurdles to overcome.
So a lot of that you actually initiated yourself thinking, well, why do we want to go through with an opening if we can't open? Or why go to all this expense?
Yeah, everything just kind of took such a pause for so long, just not knowing what was going to happen.
Were you guys brewing before you guys started construction? Was Jeremy or any of the other guys a part of any kind of brew club? Were they, obviously they're probably brewing from home and creating recipes, but were they getting any products out, or was this just kind of, hey, our beer's good, let's go ahead and start a business with it?
Yeah, so Jeremy has been brewing for a long time out of his home. We are just now starting to brew our beers for the opening. He has never worked at a brewery around here, from what I know. He actually does construction. He's been doing construction for 30 plus years, and this is just a passion for him. He comes in on his weekends. They all basically work full-time jobs, and we do this as a passion. So that's really where Jeremy comes from, and he's basically the backbone of all of the beers here.
Where you guys are opening in the Down Under, the location, what'd you say, Frankie?
Oh, that's a beautiful location.
It is so beautiful.
How did you guys land on that?
We are friends with Jimmy Hula's, and I don't know if you're familiar with Jose, but he's a really great friend of ours, and he's been a great asset. We got our hands on this property about 2-something years ago. Yeah, it's an amazing location for many reasons. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Millie's is going to take over where DJ's Deck used to go. So now it's going to be...
So that whole area is developing with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have Deck Down Under, Millie's, wonderful. Jimmy Hula's, us, the brewery, and then we have the dairy bar. So it's kind of perfect.
Absolutely. And that creates a great atmosphere for people to come and hang out for a little while. Because I know one of the big things in the area is getting people to stay. And especially with the amount of people that come over beachside from all over Volusia County and even from Orlando coming this way. It's nice to have an area where people have a good little hangout spot. And especially being right there under the bridge, it's kind of been underdeveloped for such a long time. That it's beautiful seeing good companies coming through.
Absolutely. And now they're going to develop the Riverwalk right across the bridge in the inland side. So that's going to be...
Oh, that's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's perfect. There's so much parking down there, great food. There's going to be great beer now. And then just as you're trying to leave, they're going to suck you back in with ice cream. So you have to turn around and go back for more beer. Do you have any plans for the grand opening, or what do you have planned? I know it's October 1st.
Yeah, it's October 1st on Friday. We're going to open around noon. We don't have anything specifically planned. It's so long coming that we're not really going to do a soft opening. We're just going to open the doors October 1st. It's just basically like a word of mouth, going to have a big event. Probably everybody will be here who's been involved in building this. And we're really just going to take it as it comes.
Do you know how large the system that you guys will be brewing off of and how much you guys will be producing? Is it a nano, a micro? How large is your guys' setup?
Technically, we're a microbrewery. I think anything under 1,000 barrels a year is considered a microbrewery. We'll probably be outputting about 500 to 700 barrels a year on our first year. We have 7 barrels.
And I'd imagine you'd be working your way getting into some of these like Jumi Hulas and getting your beer out there as notoriety starts to build for yourself.
Yeah, we're not in the distributing portion of it yet. We really haven't even crossed that bridge mentally. However, we will have crowlers and growlers and things like that are easily to go. But as far as the distribution on a large scale, we are definitely not there yet. But maybe in the future we will be. Really just have to see how things work out. I mean, this is really a trial by error. This is the first of its kind. So we really don't know what to always expect or anticipate.
Have you spoken with any of the other breweries, or have the owners spoken with any other breweries? And if so, what has the reception been like?
Well, I live out in DeLand, and I go to Persimmon Hollow all the time, and I'm friends with all the people who work there. And the same with New Smyrna. I just moved from New Smyrna to DeLand, and so I know a lot of the people there. Everybody's really receptive. I mean, it's not like we are some corporate brewery that's coming in, taking over.
Thank God.
You know. Yeah, of course, absolutely. Nobody wants that. The reality of it is, around here, everybody is just so pro local businesses, and I mean that's what we are. We've all lived here, we've all been here, we all went to school here, we all drink here, we all eat here, so we all just kind of support each other's businesses. I mean, I'm not going to stop going to Persimmon or New Smyrna Beach Brewery, just like I wouldn't assume that other people who live in this area are going to stop going there. They're just going to additionally come here, hopefully. I mean, that's what we're trying to do.
I tried to link to your website, but I do need to steal a bunch of pictures so I can put on my website to promote you guys. Do you know when the website's going to be online?
That's a good question. We have been trying to hire a marketing person who is supposed to do that well over a month ago. We have had a lot of difficulty with hiring someone to get on board to get that done, but we'll have it done. I would assume by October 1st, if not, then just briefly after. We do have a Facebook page and an Instagram. We are much more active on the Instagram page than we are on any other platform. If you would like to check that out, that does have a lot more options for photographs that are more behind the scenes, day to day.
And would you like to put those names out there so we can also help the followers link over to you?
Yeah, it's just Dunes Brewing for both of them. Yeah, exactly.
For Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have kept you long enough, Kyla, unless there was anything else you wanted to share with us. But before you went, I did want to let everybody know this is Dunes Brewing. They are opening October 1st, located at 59 Dunlawton Avenue, Unit 102 in Port Orange, Florida, 32127. In the area that's called the Down Under, directly under the beachside portion of the Dunlawton Street Bridge. Anything you wanted to add, Kyla, before we let you go?
No, we're looking forward to serving the community. We're excited. One beer at a time.
It's beautiful in there. I can't wait till everyone gets to check it out. I was stunned. It wasn't even ready, and I was stunned. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Kyla, thank you again for your time.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You have a great day.
Thank you, Kyla.
You as well.
All right. So that was interesting hearing from Kyla about what's going on at Dunes. Very exciting. I really did. I had my eyes on them before I even opened up my tour, and I thought, oh, they're not going to open. They're not going to open. So it's really good to hear that they are.
Absolutely. And especially seeing the growth in the community for breweries. One thing that I've seen with the brewing community is that they are absolutely locally focused. Just like Kyla brought up, being pretty much all three brewers born and raised in the area, and her herself being from the area, New Smyrna, DeLand, and those areas. Her main focus is giving back to that Port Orange community. That area under that bridge, couple years back, 5, 6, 7 years back, really was just kind of a boat ramp, and that was just about it. I know that ice cream shop's been around for quite a long time, or it's changed ownerships.
Was there a boat ramp on the same side, on the beachside portion? I know there is in the middle portion of it.
So you may be correct. I thought there was under that bridge before it was, what's the name of that restaurant there?
There was DJ's deck and our deck.
Okay.
Was it two? One of them is gone now, and that's where Millie's is going.
Okay.
Which is awesome. Millie's is one of the restaurants that I've always recommended to people to check out. So it's good that that's going there.
Yeah.
So they're going on the side where if you're leaving the beach, the last piece of land that you're above before you hit water, right on your right, that's where Dunes is going in.
Okay.
And Millie's is going in right at the edge of the water on that same side.
And it's good to have all those businesses coming into that area because it's a really cool under the bridge experience being right next to the beach. I know a lot of folks that come into town or come in to stay in their timeshares at the shores and those areas don't necessarily have a lot to go to off A1A. So it's a great area to go and fill in. And
that is a thing. As far as the Daytona area, I know from talking to the tourists that come into the area, there's plenty of stuff in Daytona. And then when people end up staying, because inevitably the hotels around the Hilton, around International start getting filled up really quick. And then people have to spread out a little further towards Ormond to the north or towards Port Orange to the south.
Yes.
And then the people to the south are like, well, what do we do? And I'll go, you have to go way up there.
Yep.
You go way up there and that's where all the fun stuff is. But now, ever since Jimmy Hula's went in down, things have started changing. And now Millie's has always been in kind of an obscure spot. So it's really nice that Millie's has taken that spot. It's kind of where it belongs, where I wish it had been all along. And now Dunes Brewing, there's a lot going on right now. It's going to be a hot spot, and I'm going to be really happy to bring people there.
Absolutely. And it's just great to see that area develop and continue to grow its portion because, like you said, for the longest time, it's been very centralized. Daytona has been an area where you're kind of going to one specific area and that's all you really have. And now, like you said, having an option to go a little bit south and other than going all the way down to Ponce Inlet, now you have another location that you can hang out, bring the family, bring your dog outside. You can hang out for the day where you're not just going and, hey, swinging by and grabbing an ice cream and then going back to your place. You have an actual brewery to check out, Jimmy Hula's, you have the water, you can go and sit by the water for a little bit.
It's really close to Sunglow Pier. That portion of the Port Orange Beach is often less inundated with people on the beach as much as the area that's up there by International, all the way up to the Plaza Hotel and everything like that. It's a great area. Leads right down, and if you go down A1A even further south into Ponce Inlet, which is a fantastic area. Before all of these areas had been so separated, even the stuff that's out by the track is far. It's like 5 miles from these other parts. And then the track went in and they put in one Daytona, which is nice, but it's still far. But if you're by the track, at least you have one Daytona. So it's nice to see some of these other places coming in and filling the gaps, maybe little stepping stones of things.
Absolutely. And it's kind of getting rid of the little barriers that a lot of these cities had for a long time, where it was DeLand was just DeLand, New Smyrna was just New Smyrna, Daytona was just Daytona, and there wasn't ever really a cross between the two. It was never a in-between. So it's definitely nice to see these little businesses popping up and locally grown, locally operated, great businesses that have great standpoints on what they're trying to do. They're coming in and filling those little holes. So that way you do have something going on pretty much anywhere around. And one thing Florida's kind of been known for is once you've seen one bit of it, you've kind of seen a lot of it.
You think so? Because I tell people, if you go to Jacksonville, let's say Jacksonville to Orlando, to Tampa, to Daytona, to Miami, they're like 5 different states almost.
They are. They definitely have their own unique diversities. They're also very spread far out. Right. Florida is one of those places where you're driving for a couple hours to get to the next big location.
Yeah.
So it's very diverse, but also the businesses within were all kind of centralized around Florida things. It was known, Florida for the longest time was fried food only. Like you couldn't get anything else besides fish and fried food. Gator. So now you're getting gators. Very interesting experience eating gator for the first time. But yeah, it kind of changed into something that is growing into more and more unique experiences. You have all kinds of random things popping up. Like, I don't know the last time you've been to Sanford and that downtown area, but that's turned into a very beautiful downtown experience. Introducing Clued Up Games, which is a really cool game system where you kind of go throughout the whole city and they have this whole day planned for you, and it's almost like the game of Clue.
You said that was Clued
Up Games.
Interesting.
It's a very cool little business that opened up that way.
I'm going to look that up and I'm going to put that in the show notes because that's something I haven't heard of, and I want to make sure, since you're recommending it, Clued Up
Clued Up Games. Yep.
Okay.
So
I'm going to check that out.
And there's a lot of unique things that it's just, if you didn't experience kind of the inner parts of each city, then you never would have really stumbled upon these escape rooms in little cities and those kind of things. Like these little individual unique businesses that are popping up that were kind of overlooked just because you have these major events. Like you have the 500 and you think your whole time is only the 500 because that's all you really come into town and hear about. So now it's unique seeing all these different angles where, like I said, in San Diego, you had diversity on every corner. Yeah. Whereas, like you just mentioned, Florida kind of had its sections to where it was like, to get a different experience, you had to drive 5 hours to Miami.
Exactly.
Or to get a different experience, you had to drive 3 hours to Tampa. Being on Volusia County, you would see almost the same thing in any little city in Volusia County. Of course, all with their uniqueness. But it wasn't as diverse as what the growth now is bringing. I think it's bringing just a unique angle to an area that I think is kind of an unpolished gem for a long time. It's had its pretty sparkle, but with a little elbow grease, it could turn into something that's a prized possession. So I think that it's growing in such a unique way that it's starting to come into fruition of some of the changes that everybody's seen from it for a long time, and they're finally making those changes.
Speaking of something that's growing and coming to fruition in its own way, I had the great experience of talking to a gentleman by the name of Elliot Hassan most recently. I did get to interview Elliot, and he has a business. He does boat charters. He's been doing it about 4 years now. It kind of came about in an interesting way, in a way that you wouldn't necessarily think. A lot of people will say, hey, let's get this plan. We're going to start a business. Let's go about it like this. Elliot kind of got a boat and then suddenly had a business. But I'd rather have you hear how Elliot describes that to you. So we're going to play that for you now. All right. We're talking with Elliot Hassan. Elliot, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you.
You are the owner of Blue Diamond Boat Rentals,
Yep.
And you do private charters as well, right?
Yep.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it about 4 years now. It's going pretty good. Every year is better than the last, but it's got its challenges.
And you operate out of Daytona?
I launched from the Dunlunton Bridge in Daytona.
What kind of boat are we talking about? A fishing charter?
I don't do a whole lot of fishing charters yet. I mostly just do island charters. We go to the sandbars in Ponce Inlet. At low tide, they come out. At high tide, they disappear.
Okay, so those are your island charters. What other kind of charters?
We go tubing and wakeboarding, so water sports.
So we're talking about a couple different kind of boats.
Yeah, I got a jet boat. That
Okay.
was the first boat I purchased. It's a bow rider, so there's seating in the front of the boat. It's 25 feet, can hold about 10 to 12 people. That was the only boat I had for about 2 years. About 1 year in, I started working and getting a website. With that, I got a lot more traffic, a lot more people calling in. And I didn't see myself stopping anytime soon, so I thought, why don't I just look into getting my own website? I knew WordPress was free. Literally, by educating yourself, you could start your own website for free.
Is that what you did?
So I had a roommate that was a programmer, and I was talking to him. So I go ahead and bought a domain. It took me a long time. I was like, okay, the domain's going to be the name of my business. There was a song I really liked by Incubus. They described the water as looking like 1,000 diamonds. My boat's blue. I'll call it Blue Diamond Boat Rentals.
Every time I think about the name of your company, I think about something else.
Blue Diamond Almond. I think about that too. I actually thought about that before even picking the name. I thought maybe it'd build some name recognition.
So your roommate told you that you can make your own website with WordPress, and it's super easy. Mm-hmm. And then you spent 2-3 weeks trying to figure out the name of your company. You settled on Blue Diamond Boat Rentals.
Yep. And I went on sunbiz.org.
Right.
Which is like the Florida's website for businesses.
Yep.
I got an LLC, and I made sure Blue Diamond Boat Rentals wasn't already taken.
Setting up the website, was it as easy as your roommate said it was?
No. Yeah, I bought a theme for a website. I messed around with it for probably like a couple months, and I was like, this isn't going anywhere fast.
So you messed with that for a couple months. Doing it yourself, 100% you. Mm-hmm. Where'd your roommate go?
Eventually, he builds the website for me. His company is called Ideas Lab, LLC. He's a great programmer. He does a lot of SEO. I was paying anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month on my website. Yeah. I would take the pictures and get the content and give it to him, and he made my logo. He would make the whole flow of the website, and I did it strictly with him for a while. And then I was like, it's hard to say, but they say don't do business with friends. So I decided to look around. I found another company called Web Daytona. I think the owner is Gary Balla. He's a really smart guy. He does a lot of websites locally.
Is he still doing your website now?
No, I was paying him anywhere like $2,000 a month starting out.
Wow.
Then it went to $1,000. Can't afford this every month. I'm pretty much not making any money.
Yeah.
Like boat repairs and then all that for a website, and I still had to pay my personal bills. The way I thought about it was I was building a house, and I was just starting with the foundation and the frame. And I thought because I'm working on my own website, I'll always have that. That's my property. If I stop paying them, that's still my website. All that work is still there. So it's been a few months. I'd say maybe like 4 to 6 months where I haven't had anyone work on my website. It's just been me.
Have you noticed the amount of business you've gotten in those 4 to 6 months? Has it changed?
It's probably slowed down some because I'm not staying up to date on my SEO, but I've been getting more and more reviews, and those add up, and that boosts my credibility.
Yeah. So you've been getting more reviews, or you had gotten more reviews up until and throughout?
Well, I was getting a lot more reviews on Google. It's hard to say. 4 to 6 months ago, Google suspended my business when I tried changing my address.
That's your Google My Business profile.
Yeah, and then I thought, okay, I'll just let it be and see how it affects things. And I was doing all right, I'd say most of the time. But I feel like now that things are starting to slow down, compared to last year, I was still busy this time. Right now, it's probably not as busy as last year. Okay. And so I contacted these Google experts that are pretty much staying in contact with Google to get my page back up.
That's what
Google has like no customer support.
Exactly.
I tried contacting Google right when they suspended my business. You got to do an email query. I did that, and so far, I've gotten nowhere.
How long ago was that?
4 to 6 months ago.
Oh my God. You just got your first boat, and that was the jet boat.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I didn't have much intended. It was my brother's idea.
Your brother? It was your brother's idea?
My little brother, yeah. He's 7 years younger than me.
Okay. And he decided you get a boat, or you decided to get the boat.
It was, hey, why don't we get a boat?
Okay.
You get the loan and put it in your name, and I'll give you some money for the down payment. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Like, we grew up boating, so It was like we always went out on my dad's boat, and it's not like my dad would let me take it out myself. I'd take the jet ski out. When I found out that they would write me a loan to buy a boat, I was like, let's do it.
I mean, how did it become something else?
We had this idea before we bought it. That's kind of how he sold me on it. He's like, we'll make the payments with the money we get by taking people out.
And the plan was he's going out with you.
Well, I was working my other job, so my brother would be the one driving the boat.
How long after getting the boat did you actually make money?
Probably within 1 to 2 months of getting it. Yeah.
How did you get that business?
The websites Get My Boat and Boat Setter. You just create a profile, kind of like Airbnb. They do all their marketing online. People go on their website, they see my listing, and they reach out to me through their platform.
So within 2 months, you had your first charter?
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about that charter?
Well, I didn't take it. My brother took it. It was probably like a 3 or 4 hour trip. My brother's pretty good at driving. He's mechanically inclined. We had no idea what to charge. We didn't want to charge so much that people wouldn't want to do it.
Are all the tours you do right now saltwater tours?
Pretty much. Once in a while, I'll drive like Lake Butler. Also go to St. John's River. So there's like Blue Springs, Silver Glen Springs. I really like fresh water. It's a lot easier on the engines too.
How many boats do you have now?
I own 2 myself outright. Okay. And I got a partner, and we're half on one boat and soon to be half equally on another.
When did the partner come about?
We met about a year ago. He was a mechanic. So I picked his brain. He knew business was picking up for me. Last year, I had so much demand, I couldn't keep up with it. That's why bought a second boat.
It's terrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
a good problem to have.
Yeah, but I was like turning away a lot of business. I told him about it. He and I just started looking for another boat. I was looking for something about the same level as the jet boat, something big and nice that can still take out large groups.
Is he a partial owner of the business, or just partial owner of the business that comes from the boats that he's 50-50 in?
He's a partial owner of the boat.
What's the best lesson you've learned between now and then? What did you not anticipate you would be looking back going, oh, wow, I wish I'd known? Just something you weren't prepared for that now you're very aware of.
I wasn't aware aware of how finicky jet motors can be. With the jet boat, I've owned it 4 years now, and it's probably been in the shop combined total maybe a year plus.
And how many of your boats are jet boats?
Just one.
So as far as that lesson goes, if somebody came along today and wanted to sell you a jet boat,
I'd have a lot of questions. Probably wouldn't buy it. At this point, outboards are a much safer way to go. But I love driving the jet boat.
what are the other boats?
They're all pontoons.
Is that all you have? Is boats? Do you do anything else?
I got jet skis. Yeah, I got 2 jet skis I bought a year ago because I was getting a lot of calls for, first it was pontoons and then it was jet skis. So I was like, okay, I'll make this purchase and see if I can satisfy these customers.
So those calls about the pontoon boat is what basically got you to buy a pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Were you happy you did now?
Yeah. The pontoon was a real project. I looked around for months and I bought a used one for $2,500. It was kept in fresh water the whole time. Yeah, it's a 30-year-old boat and the engine still worked.
And you started making money with that boat?
Yeah, after I fixed it up. It took me about 3 months to get it fixed up.
What would you say total investment in that boat?
I probably got about $20,000 in it.
You still use it today?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, that's my workhorse.
How many jet skis? You said 2?
I got 2, yeah.
How do you do a tour on a jet ski?
At this point, I don't yet. I pretty much rent the jet skis out to experienced people. Hopefully, they've driven them in this area, so they know where they're going.
What's particular about this area? Is it just that...
It's mostly the sandbars and the ocean. The ocean's dangerous, especially on a jet ski. The waves get big. And the sandbars, people could, if they don't know where they're going, they could drive right into a sandbar.
You've got a jet boat. You've got 3 pontoons. You've got 2 jet skis? Any plans to get more jet skis?
Hopefully I could get 2 more and put all 4 of them on a trailer, and then I can do jet ski tours. I would drive one, and I'd have 3 other jet skis following me, and I would show them where the places are to go.
Do you project that a jet ski tour will be more valuable than just a fire and forget, here, rent my jet ski? What I mean by that is, I do tours in my business. There are tours that require my attention for 4.5 hours, and there's another tour that's really profitable that ties me up for an hour and a half. Ties up less equipment, less overhead. I would rather do that tour all day long. I'm wondering, the jet ski rental, you can rent those and then continue to do whatever. You could then go on another tour.
So what I do with them right now is I keep them on the trailer, and people will contact me and they'll be like, hey, can we rent your jet skis for like a couple days? And I'll be like, sure. You got a truck you could come pick them up with? And some people have picked them up, took them down to Miami, or they'll take them to like a lake in Orlando, and that's the minimum amount of work for me. All I got to do is meet them, have them sign the forms, and they leave, and then I see them when they get back.
So as opposed to actually doing tours, I can see it's great. It's going to tie them up for less of a time, right? You let that tour goes out 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Mm-hmm. Requires your constant attention during that time frame, but then you get them back, rinse, repeat right away. I don't know how much, and it's not my business, how much you make on the rentals for a couple days versus what you do on a tour for a couple hours. Have you pictured that? Have you worked that out? Like,
I'd say for the work involved, letting them rent them for a few days and going that route is much more profitable for me. Doing a couple hour tour would be great, but it's going to have more involved. So I got to put the jet skis in the water, set them up on the beach, make sure people know how to drive them. If not, I got to teach them. Yeah. And then I'm riding with them and monitoring them the whole time. I've already started getting help, and I'm training a captain now. He could still take a boat out if I'm driving another. I already had to do this last year. I met a captain named Captain Butch. Yep. And he has his own charter company called Butch's Fishing Charters in Orlando, and he was just starting out last year, and he needed to make some extra revenue, so he started doing charters for me because I really needed the help. So he'd be driving my pontoon while I'm driving the jet boat.
Is he the other help? Is he the one who would be?
No, his after last year, the first year he was with me, business picked up a lot. I gave him some tips, and he took some advice. Captain Butch is doing really well. First he was just doing bass fishing trips, but he saw what I was doing, and so he started adding that as an option, but it seemed like it doubled his business.
Is it particularly expensive to insure boats for charters, or is it
for insurance? I can get an endorsement, so I just add it to my insurance policy, and it raises it a few $100s, and it pretty much covers me and the passengers on the boat. Now it doesn't cover all the tubing and wakeboarding and water sports stuff, but I have people sign a waiver so they acknowledge that. But that's why I always ask the customer some questions to see, are they local? Have you owned a boat before? What's your boating experience? Yeah. And when I'm explaining things to them when I meet them, I'm feeling them out, seeing how much they really know. I get a copy of their ID. They have to sign a waiver and release, so they accept any responsibility for damages on the boat.
How many times did you actually think of giving up?
Probably more than I can count. Yeah. More than I would care to count.
But you stuck.
Yeah, it probably comes to mind a few times a day, even.
Really?
Even
now?
I mean, especially when you're out on the water and the engine just cuts out and you're floating there just trying to figure out what the best thing to do would be. It gets frustrating.
How did you picture it when you started? Did you know you were going to be hands-on every day?
I didn't know how long I'd be hands-on for, but I was looking forward to the day where I had enough help to where I didn't have to do every single charter and I could take time to go on a vacation trip.
When's your last vacation you went on?
I took a 2-day vacation last week. We went to Orlando, my girlfriend and her family. I mean, the middle of the week was slow, so I didn't really have to turn down any business. I'm looking forward to having the help to where I wouldn't have to turn down business because I'm out of town.
What's next? What are the plans for the future? Where does Blue Diamond Boat Rentals go from here?
I have a couple ideas. One is to branch out to a new area. For a while, I was thinking about Texas. Yeah, it's pretty far, so probably would maybe do something in Florida towards Orlando or St. John's River because it's on fresh water. There's a marina there that I'm already looking into. So I thought maybe I could just put one boat there and see how many trips I can take out there.
Before we go, I know I've kept you for a long time. Is there anything that you would like to share with anyone, any particular thing that you'd like to promote or you don't want us to forget about, or if we give you a call, what we should be asking you about?
I'd like to promote the jet skis rentals more. Those don't get used as often as they should. They're really nice jet skis. Okay. I take care of them. So if there's a couple people that want to take them out for a day or a week, they should give me a call.
All right, everybody, you heard that. Elliot says he has 2 gently used jet skis for rent. Please reach out to Elliot Hassett. You can get him at bluediamondboatrentals.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/Blue Diamond Boat Rentals. Also find him on the Instagram at /Blue Diamond Boat Rentals. You can also call him. Give him a call, 407-906-5405. I want to thank you, Elliot, for taking your time to be with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
All right, have a great one. All right, so that was fun, actually, talking with Elliot. We talked probably an hour and a half, and you're lucky I didn't put all of it on there. But I trimmed down everything that I thought was important for his business. He was an entertaining guy. I love that his business just cropped up. Him and his brother bought a boat, and it was like, hey, why don't we make the payments on this boat by doing charters? And I know you got the opportunity to meet him afterwards. What do you think?
Elliot's a great guy, and he's doing it all for all the right reasons. Again, it's great to see all these locals because he's, again, a local folk that is trying to just promote good business in the area, do things the right way. It's filling a very big hole, and a lot of people buy boats and keep them in the marina, but he's got the opportunity for anybody traveling down to the area to be able to grab themselves a boat or have just a nice boat day where a lot of us don't know the boating regulations and the left and right and what green and red signs mean. So it's good to have your own captain that'll kind of take you through the intercoastal, show you the area, and being so local to give you some of the good points of the waterways. So
Guy works hard. He definitely works hard. And he did want us to stress the fact that he does have those 2 jet skis and he rents them out in a very interesting way. If you need jet skis for your whole weekend while you're here and you've got something to tow it with, you got 2 jet skis. He'll lease them to you. And actually that frees him up to do some of the other hard work that he has to do. At least you can take those jet skis and spend time with them however you like, freeing him up to go captain a charter. So I know that he would love to get more use out of those jet skis. So that would be great. I want to take a minute on, I didn't mention it last week, and talk about the elevator pitch. I have come across so many businesses, and I know you have too, Frankie, just driving around. That
absolutely.
You see these businesses that you've never seen an ad for. You've never heard them on the radio. Either they can't afford to advertise or they just don't. And therefore, you don't know that they're there unless you drive past them or unless somebody invites you to them, but you just don't know about them. So I want to give everybody an opportunity on my segment that's called the elevator pitch. If you happen to hear this podcast, if you're one of the 3 people who have listened to this podcast and you own a business and you'd like a free 30-second spot on Spotify at the bottom under our show notes, click on leave us a message, leave us a 30-second spot, and we will play it on the air. You'll actually be our first one, so I'll make a big deal about it, and I'll tell them that you are the one of 3 listeners that is my favorite. Also this week, because I had Frankie here helping me out, I didn't have any time to share with you any Uber interviews or rideshare interviews, so we're going to get back to a little bit of that next week. But I do want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. Most importantly, I'd like to thank Frankie Kicklighter for joining me. Frankie, if you're free, next week I'd love to have you join me again.
Absolutely. And I'm just as obsessed with the growth of the area as you are, and want to give you the thanks back for having me on here. You got a fantastic thing, trying to highlight some of the best parts of what we call home. Being from the area, being born and raised, it's a great thing to have somebody who's willing to dig into the corners of where we live and what we represent. So it's great to grow. It's great to see the area grow. It's great for all of us to come together and be able to share the community a little bit more. So
Thanks,
I'd
Frankie.
love to be back and help out as much as I can.
I appreciate that. I'm going to hold you to it. So for Steve at funcoasttours.com and Frankie Kicklighter, I want to thank you for spending your downtime in Daytona with us today. Thank you. See you next time.